Hey guys, thanks for watching. My name is Tara, and this video is a follow-up to the video I did about being involved in the Bentinho Massaro group slash cult. There's just been a lot that's gone on, a lot of comments, a lot of things transpiring kind of behind the scenes. I wanted to touch on some of that and also, some of the comments, which yeah, I don't pay attention to some of them, but so I just wanted to do a follow up. If anyone was interested in any more, kind of insights that I've had since doing the video and, all of that. So I guess the first thing I'll address is since doing my video a week and a half ago, less than a week and a half ago, there's been a lot of people that have watched that video. And because Mark Vicente I invited him to be a collaborator on that. And because of that, it's gotten a lot more reach, which is great because the whole point and the whole intention for me in doing that video was to help support, even one person. And that's already been the case. I've gotten emails and just messages from people sharing their story as well. I had a woman email me who, and I'm not going to, of course, name names because it's not mine to tell, but a woman, thanking me for my video, something I said, and that helped her kind of piece together for herself, help something click for her because she was in that group and then she left. She just recently, a couple days ago, just left. So it's just amazing that, it's giving people, just everybody coming out. It's a ripple effect. It's all of it. Everybody has a different like piece of the puzzle, piece of the story, right? We have Jacqueline, Keelan, and Jade who have this very like inner circle, experience and what happened to them. And if you haven't watched that, again, go watch the Instaguru over on WTF is on my mind YouTube channel with Mark Vicente, and that'll give you a lot of information and just what's actually going on, what transpired. And then you have me who did a video that's like wasn't in the inner, but just kind of outside of that, and how it affected just my life in general, not necessarily a one-on-one experience with Bentinho. And then we've got Aaron Abke, who just did his interview with Mark. That came out just on Sunday, and that's just it's just great. He's coming out, he's kind of well known, I guess, in that community, the spiritual, community. And, his perspective on his experience with Bentinho and the team, the group. So it's just, we're all kind of piecing together, but people have come to me specifically sharing their story, or something, that has happened. Some of it I was there at the time, so I was involved in and I knew about, and some things I didn't know about, like there was someone who shared their story with me and it's just absolutely heartbreaking. I had no idea, I'm not going to go into any details, but it just, it just further starting to solidify, what we have all known for so long about Bentinho and the team and the community as a whole, all of that. So things I can't actually share or say, and there's so many people I know that have left that, and there's some people that contact me like, oh, maybe I'll share, and I'm like, yeah, if that's right for you, and sometimes it's not the right thing for someone, sometimes it's not serving to them. Like it could be, and that's what I sense a lot with folks is that it's still so sensitive and it wouldn't actually be serving to them to relive that trauma, at least not yet. And so maybe down the road or, but to sacrifice yourself or your own well-being, to share, that's also not that's not what I want, that's not supportive. We'll get the ones to share. I mean, the ones that share will be the ones that are meant to share that help, the whole story and the whole picture. So I just trust that. And I trust that we all need to follow our own soul guidance and what to share, when to share, all of that. Now, if someone wants to share, but they're just, like, will I be supported? Or they're just, there's a shame of saying like, hey, I was in a cult, like there is, that does exist. It is there. Um, that's something definitely that it could offer some healing to share in for some people. Sometimes it's going to offer healing and sometimes it's not. So you just have to go with really, really be honest with yourself. Was this the right thing for me to do? But I will tell you, it wasn't easy for me to share. It took me a while to like get up. I had technical difficulties, of course, and then it just took me a little while to like get up the courage to actually be like, okay, I'm publishing this thing, So it's not going to be easy or fun. But if you feel called to do it to support others, and it can also be a part of your own healing, then, I'm here to support you. And I believe you. I support you. You're not alone, and everybody's been so supportive and great when I did my video. So, you're really, really not gonna be alone. And sharing this truth is, it is important if you feel that you can do that. So I want to just talk about some things. There's this, gosh, where do I even start? I'm looking down because I have notes, right? Um, so Aaron talked a lot about the law of one, because he also guides in that text, the law of one. And I understand that. And this isn't about the teachings. Like this whole thing that we're doing is not about the teachings. It's about Bentinho. It's about exposing him and those in his team that are as abusive as he is, basically. Um, Whether they have the same psychopathy or not, you know. So it's not about that. I just wanted to touch on that because a lot of folks are, speaking about that. About the law of one and all of that. And I appreciate Aaron's perspective because being someone who's always been on a spiritual path my entire life, and actually being able to really keep that for the most part intact through the Bentinho years, we'll call them. I mean, when I got out, I had to, or when I left, I had to really be curious and question those things for myself, right? But I always still had a core faith in the divine that never left me, and I'm grateful for that, and I'm fortunate that that was the case because it's not the case for a lot of folks that I have spoken with. Sometimes everything has to go, and then you come back to it. But I just want to say, like, and I really don't want to get into that too much with the law of one stuff, because whatever you feel about it, whatever you think about it, um, there can be, obviously there's good stuff in all kinds of texts, spiritual texts and mystical texts. Like there's good stuff in all of them, but they can all be used to harm and distort when the right, or I shouldn't say the right person, when the person that, is trying to do that, they can do that. You can do that with anything. I mean, you can do that. You can turn anything upside down. But I just, I don't want to get into too much about that or non-duality. I mean, non-duality is something that it's like, sure, are we all one? Is there a oneness? Absolutely. Of course, I believe that. I believe, there's a oneness and that we're all come from the same source, if you will. I mean, it gets a little tricky and a little sticky when you've literally looked at evil in the face. You're like, is that too? Like, how can that be one? How can that all be one? So non-duality can be beautiful, and it can be an experience. And you have, I mean, probably you've all had a moment, at least a moment, where you're just like, wow, everything is connected and everything is okay, like that. Um, but again, living day to day, your daily life is trying to be in this oneness all the time. It's just not how our realm works, right? We have duality here. We just do. It's just the way our realm is set up. And we are meant to experience that because we're here to be humans. We are meant to experience that. And anybody who's trying to escape that, even if they say they're not, they're just trying to get into states of bliss or whatever. Um, it's it ends. I know so many people who have followed non-duality teachings that have come right back around and been like, oh, nope, 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 not doing that because it just messes with you, your life, people around you, all of it. So that's what I want to say about that. And then as far as teachers and spiritual teachers, I've had some comments about that, like, what do you think about, this or that? It's like, I mean, to me, for me personally, I don't need or want any sort of spiritual teacher, at this point in my life. I feel very complete. I feel whole. I don't need something outside of myself or a teaching or even a guide, at this point. But I know that, in the beginning, it's beautiful to have someone who can guide you, as long as you're really still tuning in, checking in with yourself. How does this feel? Does this resonate? Um, I mean, not just blindly giving away yourself or your power or your soul, literally. I mean, yeah, we just really like a guide, great, but no guru. I did another video called No More Gurus. You can check that out too if you want. Um, and I think nature is just, I mean, we are the best authority for ourselves, right? And our connection to the divine. Um, and then nature is, I mean, if you have questions, go sit under a tree and just ask away because the tree, will answer you in one way or another. I mean, I talk to the trees all the time. I have this beautiful walk that I do here where I live. Every other day I do a very long, like, nature walk, and they're all my friends, all the trees, we just, there's an exchange of energy there with everything in nature because we are nature. We're not separate from nature. We are. That to me is such a um, visceral and palatable and practical experience of oneness, is just going in nature and being with the birds and the trees and just everything. And it's like, oh, right, this is home. We don't go to nature and like visit, it's who we are. It's what we are. I believe that's my belief. And it can be very, very healing. So if you are coming out of a high control group or something, that's a, that's what I suggest. Just get into nature as much as you possibly can. Ground yourself, put your bare feet in the grass, as much as you possibly can. It really is so healing. But putting someone on a pedestal in any way, shape, or form, pedestalizing, idolizing, thinking someone has all the answers, that someone can do no wrong, that's always going to end badly every time because it's not possible. If you're human, you're fallible, right? Um, so we're like, I'm a coach and I do acupuncture and coaching and I teach natural law, I teach sovereignty practices, but I walk beside someone. Yes, I may, as a coach, I'm not giving advice. I might have an intuition and be like, oh, what do you think about this? But it's mostly asking questions so that my client can find his or her own answers, which is we all have, right? So that's what that is. And I'm walking with someone. I'm in collaboration with them. I'm not, there's no hierarchy. I'm not like above or ahead of. I'm walking beside, not in front of someone, right? And I feel like it doesn't mean we can't be an authority on something. Like I've studied my ass off learning all kinds of, law, all kinds of stuff and all kinds of natural law stuff, you could say. And I, have the honor and the privilege to teach that to others, but that's a little different than spirituality, right? Like that's a skill that's like hi, I learned this, like I'm an acupuncturist. I went to acupuncture school for 4 years. That's a skill that I had to go learn. Um, I not everybody wants or can do that, so it's like, of course, if you're going to learn a skill, you need a teacher, period, obviously. But it's a very different thing than, that's more external. But when we go and we're working with the inner world, that's a little bit more fragile. We need to really protect that for ourselves. Um, protect that, protect your soul, protect your heart. Of course, having an open heart is beautiful, but it's the discernment, and that really can only be learned. I mean, for myself, it could only be learned, right? And this idea of enlightenment, that was a big topic in Aaron's interview, and a lot of people commenting, and even a lot of people commenting on my video about enlightenment, and I get that there is this idea, that we can be enlightened, but it's like, what is that? Is it something that we're meant to do, be, or have here as a human? To me, embodiment is like the real here as a human on this planet, right? It's embodiment of like being able to be human in this human body and all its good, bad, ugly, all of it, and be with it, stay with it, not run from it, be with the suffering, the pain, and the exquisite joy, and just be with all of it, be present with it, and allow it to to move you and to change you and to alchemize and transmute whatever needs to be done, and I mean, this is a whole big conversation, but and there's people in the comments too who said something to the effect of, well, you just don't get it, like you must not really get what self-realization is then if you are having had this experience, or you're turning away now from non-duality. You must not really have gotten it, and hey, I get it. I used to be you. I used to be you before. Fast forward, like, you know 9, 10 years ago, same. I would have been like, oh yeah, you just don't get it. It's like we all have our own journey, so I'm not here to convince anybody of anything or to say that, you know, in many ways we do have to go through our own experience of that, but gosh, I've been up, down, all around, with all of it. And for me, being here in my body and enjoying this present life is the most fulfilling and the most beautiful. And, loving myself unconditionally. And that means unconditionally, no conditions, none. It's, that takes, but that's takes time, it takes time. Um, and, I have absolutely explored, I mean, how we get involved in a cult or a high control group or even a relationship with, a narcissist or whatever. How that happens is, that's a question. Well, why did you, how and why? And you must have done something. You must have had something wrong with you. There must have been a weakness in you to get involved. I had a nickel for every time I heard that. I mean, on the comments in this series with all the podcasts. And Mark Vicente made a very good little video. I think it's on his YouTube channel, a short, but he's like, why do people always want to blame the victim of this abuse? Why? It's like, yeah, it's like blaming the woman that got raped because of what she was wearing or whatever. It's like, why are you not asking what's wrong with the abuser? Why is the abuser abusing? And how do we expose and stop this person? Like, why is that not the main thing? And like, how did you get involved with this psychopath? It's like, oh yeah, really, I just something that, I really wanted to do. No, it's, again, we're not taught, we're not educated. I wasn't educated about narcissistic, psychopath, sociopath. I didn't know where. I thought you would just see him coming from a mile away. It's not the case. it's absolutely not the case. And oftentimes they're the last person you would ever think that they would be, you know? It's the false light. It's the false light. And they're very charismatic and charming and can even just be like where you're drawn in and oh my gosh, they seem so like happy and blissed out. And in my case with Bentinho, he's just blissed out, Sure, he could have been having his states of bliss and, all of that transcendence, if you will, from the human experience, but that doesn't mean he's a good guy, clearly. So for me, but I am always going to explore why did this happen in my life? Because that's personally, for me, that's, I'm always going to go for, okay, what is this for? What is the gift and the blessing here? Doesn't mean that something horrible should have happened or that it's okay that it happened. That's not at all what I'm saying, but it did happen. And now what is the gift in that? And so for me, of course, I've explored that a lot with my time in that group. Like it absolutely got me back into my body in a way that I've never been before, and it's beautiful. And there is this complete wholeness. I mean, of course, I've had other things, on my journey. It wasn't just that, but it helped me to see like what's possible out there, with these kinds of with this kind of psychopathy and individuals, so that I can protect myself and also maybe see signs around me, for others. I mean, you never know, right? And I mean, it's personal. There's all kinds of stuff that I could say, yeah, well, this was really, I really learned this and this was good for this and, et cetera. I want to talk about this word victim because it's such a thing in a thread in this whole conversation of like, I've had a few comments like, stop, like take responsibility for yourself and stop being a victim. It's like, whoa, okay, so this person has never experienced any sort of, abuse, psychological, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, sexual, like they clearly haven't ever experienced that because if you had, that just wouldn't come up for you. Okay. Now there's two extremes to this, right? There's like, there are never any victims. Everything is, you create everything. And that's what keeps people in abusive situations. Oh, I created this for a reason. There must be something for me to learn here. I'm never a victim of anything, and that's what happens in cults. I'm not a victim. No, I'm totally empowered. Like I'm allowing all this stuff around me to happen because it's helping me grow and learn. And, that's bullshit because it immediately turns off your intuition. It turns off your self-preservation, all of that. So that's one extreme. The other extreme is, oh my God, I'm a victim of everything. Everything is everyone else's fault. I have no power, control, whatever. Things are just happening to me and I'm flailing in the wind, right? And something happened to me 15 years ago and I'm still a victim of it, right? That's the other extreme. So there's something in the middle here. Like I believe absolutely that there are victims of crimes that happen and abuse that happens, right? That we had no idea, no way to know we were getting into, or even if you did, it's like you're a victim to something, absolutely, when that thing happened, for sure, and then after you come out of it and you're, at first you're just surviving, right? And then you get to a place where you're thriving. And yes, you were a victim of that thing, but it doesn't have to carry in your life through the rest of your life. And that's it. I'm done. I'm a victim, forever. So let's just be a little more, I would say, maybe think about that a little more before you go telling people not to be victims and not to be in victim consciousness. Okay. There's a difference between being a victim of something that happened in a moment and continuing in that victim consciousness, for the rest of your life. All right. So that's what I wanted to say about that. Yeah, I talked about that. Okay. And the last thing I think I'll point to here for myself is channelers, because that's been a big topic too since Aaron's episode, because the law of one, if you're aware of that, was channeled, right? And I'm not speaking to that text um, in and of itself. Generally, for me, if someone's channeling something, I'm very discerning. It's taken absolutely with a grain of salt. It doesn't mean there can't be good stuff in there. There can be good stuff anywhere. Well, not anywhere, but even in cults, there's a lot of truths, and that's how they get you with all the good stuff in the beginning, right? And then it just deteriorates after that. Um, but with channelers, my personal approach is to just, I don't know who is being channeled, where that entity really comes from. They might say a certain thing, but I would have to feel that for myself, and you can through the materials. And there's certain channelers that are really big out there that I don't come near me with a 10-foot pole, because I feel in my system, I feel in my intuition that that is not, it's not a pure channel. And I mean, what is a pure channel, right? I mean, it's coming through a man or a woman, which that's also has to have an effect on what's being channeled as well, right? And once I heard like certain big names back in the time of like, when the jab was happening and all of that, and they were fine with it. They were even encouraging people to do that. I was like, oh my God. I was like, and not that I was really listening to them anyway, but I was like, oh, hell no. I was just like, oh, sure, go take some, you know what? It's really okay to swallow poison. It's no big deal. You should really go do that. It's like, oh, who the fuck are these entities that are telling people to do this? That to me right there, because the second I heard about the jabs, I immediately, my body, everything in me was just like, ooh, like I just knew, hell no, hell no. And anybody who's um, supporting that or encouraging that, I'm going to, who's like speaking to millions of people or whatever. I'm like, oh my gosh, that gave me pause. Well, and I just, immediately was like, but I can't listen to anything anymore from those specific, folks. Again, not that I really did anyway, but when people say, oh, I heard this great thing from, this channeler, I'm just like, uh-huh. Anyway, that's all of this is my personal opinions, feelings, thoughts, intuitions, and you have your own, right? So I'm not trying to put any of my stuff on you. I'm just hoping to, I guess, with this video, just be really clear about certain things. I have I want folks to know, if you are coming out of a group like this too, that um, there is another side of it. There is light at the end of the tunnel. You are the light, in fact, and your beautiful, beautiful soul and your beautiful essence um, is and has always been there, and will be again. I mean, you will feel it again. Um, I have an absolutely beautiful life, extraordinary life. It's simple. It's quiet. I love it. I love where I live. It's just home. I have the most beautiful community. Um, there's literally nowhere else in the entire world I would rather be, or people that I would rather be with, or, I just letting you guys know that. So anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and be well.